Chris Lee and Blake Lovell of Southeastern 14 here. We're doing predictions for SEC basketball games of Tuesday, January the 10th, and Wednesday the 11th. We are starting in order of day and tip-off. First, we've got an ESPN2 game in Lexington. South Carolina visits Kentucky. We don't have lines as we're doing these, so what I did is I took an average. Pomeroy, Bart Torvik, BPI, and Jeff Sagarin, factoring for the home court, and average those to form an estimated line. The estimated line on this one is Kentucky by 19.5. The Wildcats have looked awful. South Carolina is awful. What gives here, Blake? I have a feeling it's something
you're not selling this game.
Yeah. I mean, at some point, Kentucky's got to play better, right?
Man, Chris, good thing SEC's not hiring you to sell this one on network TV because, boy, awful.
Am I wrong?
No, you're not. But I'm just pointing it out. If you wanted a sell job on this game, that's not it. And this is on ESPN2, by the way, not an SEC network game. So prime television here. But yeah, I mean, in a strange sense, Kentucky only being favored by 19. It's kind of interesting when you think about it, given how bad South Carolina's been. But yeah, I mean, we preview the games, make our picks. I don't think anyone's going to pick South Carolina in this one. I think I'll pick Kentucky, but that's not surprising because as we said, Kentucky plays well at home. And when you factor that in, wouldn't be surprised if that comes out and looks like, the old Kentucky again here, just based on the fact that this is what they do at Rupp, but against good teams and away from home specifically, which they will run into on Saturday against Tennessee, it's been the complete opposite. And, South Carolina really struggles to score. As much as I talk about Kentucky's offense, South Carolina's offense on a completely different level, and it's not a good one. And so, yeah, I think Kentucky will find a way to get back on track here, and you'll probably see improvements on offense, on defense. But as always, what I'm curious about more than anything, no matter the opponent, how does Cal adjust? Does he make any significant adjustments? Do they do anything significantly different? They may not have to in this one because they'll still win this game. But yeah, it's been a struggle for both of these teams here recently.
Kentucky has a 95% chance to win between Pomeroy, Torvik, and BPI, by the way. Okay,
so
next
more about
one.
Carolina than it does Kentucky, I think.
So. Yeah, I think it does. Next one up, Florida visits LSU. Average of those four computers has got LSU. No, excuse me. It's got Florida by about a half point. And yeah, this is, man, talk about all over the place. Pomeroy has got Florida by 1. Bart Torvik has got LSU by a half point. No, I'm sorry. Pomeroy has got LSU by a point. Torvik and BPI have got Florida as slight favorites, and Sagarin has got LSU as a slight favorite. So the computers are completely split on who wins. The average of that is got what? Florida's about a half point road favorite. I'm not buying it. No, it's you take the home team. Have we not learned this?
LSU's heads, Florida's tails. That's the rule here.
Okay. I did not think you'd be conflicted on this.
It's head, so maybe I should take the opposite because the coin does lie, as we saw in the game against.
No, wait. Explain this to me because you've been not that I'm down on LSU, but you have been bigger on LSU than I have been all year. You're insisting that despite the weak schedule, you've seen some things. They keep winning games. Florida has not beaten anybody of huge consequence so far. I have thought, and I'm the guy that for the last 2 years has been bigger on Florida than you. But the lack of results, I'm wanting to see a little more before I have Florida in the esteem that some of the predictive computers, which have Florida in or around the top 50, have. I don't know. I just think LSU at home with Katie Williams, the way he's played. I don't know how you take Florida in this one, but
I was just waiting to see what else you had to say. I'm picking LSU. I just seeing what else you're going to add to the conversation.
KJ Williams, excuse me. I knew the minute I said that. I made a composite of him
fine.
And Katie Johnson, I guess. But anyway,
I talk all the time. I was letting you talk for a minute. So no, I picked LSU. I was doing the coin flip just based on the fact that this is a close game. I mean, these are two teams that a lot of similarities, a lot of equal things in that regard, but it's the same conversation we always have. It's the SEC. It's conference play now. It's early. Would it surprise you if Florida goes on the road and wins? Nope. Would it surprise you if LSU wins at home? Nope. Statistically, I just don't see a. I think this is a lower scoring game. I think this is a Colin Castleton, KJ Williams matchup here when you look at these two, and whoever gets the best of that, I think will tell us a lot. And to me, it goes back to Florida. If they can continue to get what they got in that game against Georgia, consistency out of everybody else, which has not always been there this season. If they can get that, that'll be significant. But guess what? We can say the same thing about LSU offensively. Consistency has not been there at times for people outside of these top couple players. So yeah, it's a tough game to predict. But in that instance, what do we always do? We go with the home team, and that's what I'll do here.
Okay, I don't know that I'll go with the home team in this next one. This
boy.
one at 8 o'clock on Tuesday. Ole Miss is hosting Auburn. Auburn is about a 2.5-point favorite by the computers. Ole Miss has been given, I think, a 39% chance to win. Ole Miss not playing well. Auburn looked better over the weekend. Is Auburn starting to figure some things out? I mean, this is kind of the don't bet against Bruce Pearl to me. Ole Miss just Auburn has not been great offensively all the time. We've talked about shot selection, all those things, but I'm just not sure that Ole Miss has got enough guys to score in the way that Auburn does.
I mean, the only thing that's changed with Auburn in the past 6 days is the fact that they played at home versus on the road. I mean, do we remember how they looked at Georgia? They didn't look good at all.
Yeah, and Ole Miss also lost at home to North Alabama not long
Well,
ago.
I get it, but what I'm saying is like is Auburn figuring some things out? I don't know if I would go that strongly just yet because they beat Arkansas at home, which is great, but it was at home, and I watched them play at Georgia too, and there were a complete difference in terms of the style and the consistency that was there. So now they're back on the road again. I don't know. I mean, I'm probably not as strongly convinced that Auburn's going to win this game as others may be, just based on the fact that I mean Kermit gave him some problems at times. I think over the years, could be wrong about that. I know they didn't last year, but I think that will be my guess in terms of how Ole Miss approaches this. Is they will do what we said about some of these teams like Auburn. They will try to make them shoot the ball from outside, and if Auburn settles for those kind of shots, then that gives Ole Miss a chance. But the problem for Ole Miss again goes back to their offensive limitations right now. And we may say that Auburn's offense isn't to the level that maybe you want it to be, but I don't think they have as many limitations as Ole Miss does. And with the way Auburn defends, I would lean towards Auburn here, but I'm not as strongly convinced as some may be, just based on the fact that I mean, we did just see the most recent away from home game for Auburn was a pretty poor performance against Georgia. And so I don't, and they only beat Florida by 3 at home before that. So I don't know that I'm, sold on the Auburn fully turning it around and being an elite team just yet, but I think they're better than Ole Miss. And this is a game that they need to win if they are gonna completely get back on, track and build off that Arkansas win. They got to win this one. And I think they probably sneak it out there.
Yeah, counterpointing a little bit, okay? It was 2 weeks ago that Ole Miss, I think, led Tennessee in the second half, ended up losing by 4 to a Tennessee team that is just destroying everything in its path right now. And you did mention Auburn, so this might be a spot where I looked at it and said Auburn's only a 2.5-point favorite on the road, but we've talked about how tough it is to win in the SEC. I'm still going to go with Auburn, but I just think you have to note that it just is not easy to get wins in anybody else's building in this league.
15-19 so far. 79% home winning percentage for SEC teams to this point. So yeah.
Okay, next up, Vanderbilt travels to Tennessee, 8 o'clock Central on Tuesday night. The Vols are about 20.5-point favorites according to the computer. A 97% chance to win, according to the computers. Go back and look at Vandy, though. Vanderbilt's not going to go to Knoxville and win this game, but Vanderbilt rarely loses a game by 20 points or more.
Yeah, That's what we've talked about all year.
I mean, that's yeah. It's
they're
not
just
a lot to put your hat on, but if you're betting on this game, I know you would think Tennessee in a walk, but based on past history, and Oreo is really
What do you
riled up
think?
about this
Oreo is
one.
opposed to this idea, or is he trying to give us a sign that Tennessee may actually run away with this game?
Oreo is sticking up for the dogs in this one, is what he is doing.
Well,
he's pleading you not to.
He
not
may
to
be,
take the balls and the points.
He may be. That could be
Oh
a
my
sign. We're
goodness.
gonna remember this. So, nonetheless, there is something to that idea. I mean, if I was betting on this one, I probably wouldn't, because I just don't love it based on what Vanderbilt's done this season, and how close they've kept a lot of these games. I think there's also, you can play the argument, well, that Missouri loss kind of deflating just how close they were, and now they play a better team in Tennessee. I mean, this stretch for Vanderbilt, right? We talked about it. They play at Missouri, played well, but now they got Tennessee on the road. They got Arkansas and Alabama as their next two home games. Quite a stretch here, playing, what you could argue for the top 5 teams in the SEC, or whatever order you want to put them in. But yeah, it will not be. I think it's the same thing. Like, whether it's Vanderbilt, whether it's anybody else outside of maybe Alabama and maybe Missouri, I just think you're going to have questions about being able to find consistent offense against Tennessee, because they're just so good on that side of the floor. And again, if they can hold a Kansas team that, quite frankly, I think is probably the best team in the country, or maybe Houston, they hold a Kansas team to 50 points, that tells you how good Tennessee can be. And, Vanderbilt, as we said, I mean, they hit some shots, but there's also a difference, I think, in terms of consistency in how Tennessee plays defense and how Missouri plays defense. And
it's a huge difference.
That's going to be what you run into here, I think, if you're the Commodore. So, yeah, I think you pick Tennessee, but I think maybe this is that one that gets away from Vanderbilt, just based on the level of the opponent. But at the same time, look, if it happens, we can point to, well, here's your sample size of how close all these games have been. So
if you just want to pick a game to watch a team where you think the game's going to be close, and I don't care who they play, it probably ought to be Vandy. Let me just rewind the season. Loses at Missouri by 3, beats South Carolina by 5, which is awful, at home in overtime. Did blow out Southeastern Louisiana, which is dreadful. But before that, beat Alabama A&M, which is also dreadful, by 8 points, and was up 1 in the final minute. Lost to NC State and Chicago by 4. Lost to Grambling by 2 at home. Beat Pitt by 1 at home. Beat Wofford by 3 at home. Lost to VCU by 5 on the road. And by the way, I'm not removing games from this. This is just the schedule. Lost to Fresno State by 8, or beat Fresno State by 8. Lost to St. Mary's by 10. I mean, I could go on, but you get the point. Somehow they managed to be in every game without putting much separation between them and anybody, no matter how good or how bad.
Yeah, only 2 games this season that have been decided by 12 points or more. Is that right? Yeah. Morehead State beat Morehead State by 33, beat Southeastern Louisiana by 38. Every other game has been decided by 12 points or less.
Yeah. And Southern Miss was 12 exactly. So,
yeah. So I mean, that's the thing, right? So, but the
they're
difference,
the Whirlpool team. They bring everything to the middle.
And just the way stylistically, perhaps they could do that here in this game, but I would not bet on it, because I think Tennessee is so good that they could do the same thing that they've done to Mississippi State.
That's true.
And so I think that's it. It's a hard game to predict from a how does it play out based on Vanderbilt's season type game, more so than it is who are you picking to win. Because I mean, I think it's clear we're going to pick Tennessee, but there is a little bit of fascination there with, can Vandy keep this going? But I just, against the best team they've seen thus far, which I think the St. Mary's game too is interesting to look back on, because St. Mary's
is 9 in KenPom.
They're better than Gonzaga in a lot of computers' eyes. So I think that's interesting to note too. So yeah, so all those things combined, I mean, Tennessee's just been our role. I don't think there's any way you can pick against them, or even pick against Vanderbilt, maybe making this interesting just because of how good Tennessee has been.
Yeah, but if it's a 12 or 15-point game, it wouldn't surprise me. That's all I'm saying. Vandy's not going to go to Knoxville and win, but
Well, Tennessee plays Kentucky on Saturday too. You never know about the look ahead, but the look
oh, that's
ahead
true.
for
That's
that one
true.
is perhaps not as enticing as it used to. Here you go. How about this? Last season, right? Go back to last season. Different scenario because Vandy had Scottie Pippen, and I think they were better offensively. Last season, February 12th, Tennessee plays Vandy at home, 73-64. Tuesday, February 15th, Tennessee plays Kentucky at home, 76-63. So there you go. If you want something that it seems like they usually play those two teams, but yeah, the year before played them back to back in a different setting. But yeah, played Vanderbilt, Kentucky back to back. So it's kind of an interesting note there.
Yeah, series history with this one last year. Tennessee won that one 68-60 in Nashville, and then won 73-64 in Knoxville. Year before,
Chris,
Tennessee,
I'm looking at this. Vandy's played
Tennessee
Tennessee
won by
close
12,
in Knoxville,
and then
outside
won
of
the other one by 20 early in the year.
hang on.
No, they
Outside of
haven't. Vanderbilt has not
21.
won that game in forever.
Well, we're not having that conversation.
No, that's not
But
happening. But
home games, Tennessee in 2021 beat them by 20 at home. But if you look at everything else, that game has been somewhat close.
Tennessee plays better in Nashville than it does in Knoxville in this series.
Well, maybe. So, yeah, a couple of the games have been ugly, but they've been close. But we'll see.
Yeah.
We're spending a lot of time on this, but I'll say on this to say that don't be shocked if Vanderbilt keeps it closer in comparison to other teams, just based on the fact that they've seemingly done that all season. But Tennessee is clearly on another level right now, I think.
Well, just some info for you guys. If you put something down at BROTHROW, and you can see how to do that at the bottom of the screen. If it is 20.5 points, you may want to have some reservations about taking Tennessee with the points. But anyway, we're going to do Wednesday in another video, correct?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. Best way to catch that is be sure to hit the subscribe button. Thanks for watching Southeastern 14. He's Blake Lovell. I'm Chris Lee. We'll see you soon.